The text arrived at 2:17 a.m. Just 3 words. Bluebird needs rain. Most people would have ignored it. My brother-in-law certainly would have. But my sister and I created that phrase when we were children. It wasn't random. It wasn't a joke. It was our secret distress code. A message that meant only one thing. I need help, but I can't ask for it openly. For 15 years, neither of us had ever used it. Not once. Then suddenly, in the middle of the night, my sister sent it. What I uncovered during the next 48 hours exposed secrets nobody saw coming and changed everything forever. I stared at the screen for several seconds, hoping I had misread the message. Bluebird needs rain. The code my sister and I created when we were 12 years old. Back then, we promised that if either of us ever felt trapped, scared, or unable to ask for help directly, we'd send that phrase. No questions asked. The other would come. I immediately called her. No answer. I called again. Straight to voicemail. Then I sent a text. Are you okay? 5 minutes later, she replied. Everything is fine. Just couldn't sleep.
Sorry.
The message felt wrong. My sister never used periods in texts. Never. I tried calling once more. This time someone answered. Hey, my brother-in-law, Derek, said cheerfully. She's asleep now. Must have texted you by mistake. His voice sounded almost rehearsed. I heard movement in the background. Then what sounded like a door closing. Tell her I called, I said. Will do. The line disconnected. I sat awake until sunrise. The more I thought about it, the less sense it made. Over the past year, my sister had slowly disappeared from family events. She stopped meeting old friends. She rarely called anymore. Whenever anyone asked about it, Derek always had an explanation. Busy schedule, work stress, family priorities. Everyone accepted those answers. I suddenly couldn't. By 7 that morning, I had made my decision. If my sister truly needed help, I wasn't going to wait for another message. I booked the first flight available and packed a bag. Something was wrong, and I intended to find out what it was. I landed just after noon and drove straight to my sister's house without telling anyone I was coming. The neighborhood looked exactly as I remembered. Clean lawns, quiet streets, perfect families. The house looked perfect too. Fresh flowers on the porch, new paint, a shiny SUV in the driveway. Nothing about it matched the alarm I felt in my chest. Derek opened the door before I even knocked. Well, this is a surprise, he said with a wide smile. His friendly tone was flawless. Too flawless. A moment later, my sister appeared behind him. She smiled when she saw me, but it never reached her eyes. For a split second, relief flashed across her face. Then it disappeared. You should have told us you were coming, she said. I wanted to surprise you. Derek laughed. Mission accomplished. Inside, everything looked carefully arranged. Family photos covered the walls. Awards and certificates filled shelves. The picture of a happy family was everywhere. Yet something felt off. Whenever I asked my sister a question, Derek answered first. Whenever she started speaking, he interrupted. Whenever she laughed, she glanced at him before continuing. During dinner, I noticed she barely touched her food. When her phone buzzed, Derek immediately looked toward it. Later, while he stepped outside to take a call, my sister walked past me and quietly slipped something into my hand. I waited until I was alone before opening it. It was a small folded note. My pulse quickened as I unfolded the paper. Only 4 words were written inside. Please don't leave yet. In that moment, every doubt vanished. The message from that night had been real. My sister needed help. That evening, I waited until Derek left the house to pick up groceries. The second his car disappeared down the street, my sister locked the front door and sat across from me at the kitchen table. For several moments, neither of us spoke. Then her eyes filled with tears. I didn't know who else to call, she whispered. I reached across the table and took her hand. Tell me everything. The words poured out slowly at first. Then, all at once. Derek never shouted in public. He never acted cruel around other people. Instead, he controlled everything quietly. He monitored spending, questioned every decision, criticized her confidence. made her feel incapable of handling life without him. If she disagreed with him, he would spend days acting cold and dismissive until she apologized. Over time, she stopped arguing. Then she stopped making choices. Then she stopped trusting herself. Everyone saw a successful marriage. Nobody saw what happened behind closed doors. I kept thinking it would get better, she said. But it kept getting worse. She showed me messages filled with subtle insults disguised as advice. Financial records revealed accounts she couldn't access without permission. There were emails where Derek discouraged her from reconnecting with old friends. Individually, each example seemed small. Together, they painted a troubling picture. For years, he had slowly isolated her while maintaining the image of a caring husband. My sister lowered her head. I felt trapped. I squeezed her hand. "You're not trapped anymore." For the first time that day, she smiled. A real smile. But when the front door opened unexpectedly minutes later, her expression changed instantly. And when Derek walked inside, he looked directly at me. For the first time, he seemed nervous. The next evening, I asked several close family members to come over. I didn't explain why. I simply said it was important. Derek looked relaxed as everyone gathered in the living room. He greeted relatives with his usual confidence, shaking hands and telling jokes. He believed he controlled the situation. For years, he always had. When everyone was seated, I stood and cleared my throat. "I think it's time we talk honestly," I said. Derek smiled. "About what?" Instead of answering, I handed copies of documents to everyone. Messages, financial records, emails, a timeline. At first, the room remained silent. Then people began reading. Expressions changed. Questions followed. My aunt recalled how my sister had suddenly stopped attending family lunches. My cousin remembered invitations that were always declined at the last minute. An old friend revealed that repeated attempts to reconnect had quietly gone unanswered. One by one, pieces started fitting together. Derek tried to interrupt. "You're twisting everything." Nobody responded. For the first time, people continued listening without him controlling the conversation. Then my sister stood. Her hands trembled, but her voice remained steady. She spoke about years of self-doubt, the isolation, the constant criticism disguised as concern, the feeling that every decision required permission. When she finished, tears filled several eyes around the room. Derek immediately blamed stress, misunderstandings, family interference, anything except his own choices. This time, nobody accepted the excuses. The image he had carefully built for years was collapsing, not because of shouting, not because of revenge, because the truth had finally been spoken aloud. My sister took a deep breath and looked around the room. Then she made her decision. She would rebuild her life on her own terms. The family supported her immediately. As everyone gathered beside her, Derek finally understood something. The quiet brother-in-law he had always underestimated was the reason nobody believed his story anymore. A few weeks later, the house felt different. Lighter, calmer. For the first time in years, my sister was making decisions without second-guessing herself. She reconnected with old friends, started attending family gatherings again. Even simple things, choosing where to spend her afternoon or what restaurant to visit, seemed to bring her genuine happiness. Watching her regain confidence reminded me how much had been taken from her without anyone noticing. Healing wasn't instant. Some days were harder than others, but she was moving forward, and she wasn't doing it alone. One afternoon, we sat together on a park bench overlooking a small lake. The conversation drifted toward childhood memories. Then she smiled. "You remembered the code." I laughed softly. "Of course I did. We had created it after watching a detective movie when we were kids. At the time, it felt like a game. Neither of us imagined it would someday matter. Yet it had. That simple phrase changed everything." My sister looked out across the water. "Thank you for coming." I shook my head. "You never had to thank me. Family shows up. That's what family is supposed to do." Over time, relationships healed. Trust returned. And the future no longer felt controlled by someone else's decisions. Looking back, I learned something important. Strength isn't always loud. Sometimes it sits quietly in the background, listening carefully when others stop paying attention. Derek thought I was harmless because I stayed calm. What he never understood was this: quiet people hear everything. And when family needs them, they never stop showing up.